folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanchez, Jim Jonas, with another episode of Veterans of Politics. Today our guest is going to be Allan Litman, Mayor of Mesquite, and we're glad to have him here. Mayor Litman drove all the way from Mesquite, which was a 2-hour drive or something like that.
No, hour and 15 minutes.
Hour and 15 minutes because he's speed. NHP didn't catch him. And he has total control of the Mesquite police, so they didn't give him a ticket either. Jim, you got anything?
Yeah, I do have something really briefly. So this will be the last show we taped before Christmas. Mm-hmm. So Steve and I don't typically color coordinate, but there's a couple reasons why.
Real men wear pink.
Right.
That's right.
So there's a couple reasons why I have this shirt on and I have a White Sox hat on. I'm not a White Sox fan. But however, my mom that passed away a couple years ago, huge White Sox fan. So wanted to wear that in memory of her.
That's a good sign.
And then also, this was her favorite shirt. And it was her favorite shirt not only because unfortunately she passed away from cancer, but my grandmother, her mom, passed away from breast cancer.
Wow.
And so this was her favorite shirt, besides the fact that Steve Sanson gave it to her, and she was a huge fan of Steve Sanson. I will not hold that against her. It also brings up some memories about, I'm going to try to make it through this without crying. It brings up some memories about my dad, and so I'm missing him a lot. It's been a pretty tough Christmas season for me, not only because of the type of work I do. Been very busy, but just want to, recognize my mom, my dad, my grandparents. They're all deceased now, except for I do have one grandmother left, thankfully. Both my grandparents on my mom's side of the family were Korean War vets. That's one of the reasons too why I'm so dedicated to veterans of politics. And just on a side note, personal note, it's been a tough year for everybody with COVID, and I've been through a lot this year myself. I haven't had COVID, luckily enough, but it's just been a tough year. And but I've been able to get through it, and one of the reasons why is because of the person sitting to my left. Steve gets a lot of criticism from a lot of people in the public. They don't know who he is. And me and my brothers don't have a place to go this Christmas. But we do this Christmas because of Steve. So I just want to thank you, Steve, for being a good friend and helping me through some really tough times. And we've gotten a lot of progress done this year and been able to do a lot of things. And I'm really looking forward to next year, because next year we're really going to take off.
That's right.
So sorry for getting so emotional,
That's right, brother.
But I really love you a lot, and I appreciate you very much.
Same here. Wow.
That's all I got.
I didn't expect this, folks, but thank you so much, Jim. Thank you. And the feeling is always mutual, because Jim has been a supporter from all the way back to 2007 when he first came on the show. And we've been strong ever since, and now we're in 2020. Yeah. Although the show came on in 2005, and we kept Jim out, and he snuck in, stole the key from under the mat, never gave it back. And for that, I'm grateful. So thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Yes.
Tell us about, oh, by the way, thank you for your service, sir.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Is it Army?
Army.
Ooh. How you guys do it? Ooh, yeah, or ooh?
No, just,
Come on.
what do we say?
Ooh.
I think that worked. That's universal.
But the Marine Corps is hoorah, you know?
I know that.
So tell us about yourself, Mayor.
I don't know what to say. Been the mayor of Mesquite for the last 7 years. The only veteran to ever be a mayor in the city. And although we don't go back that many years, but we go back.
How old is the
40.
city, by the way?
1984.
Okay.
When it was incorporated.
Okay.
It was a town since the 1880s.
The county commissioners gave you your municipality back then?
Yeah, way back then.
They wouldn't give it to Laughlin, though. They like,
No, I know. No, I know. I'm not sure Laughlin even wanted it. But, so, yeah, I've been out in Mesquite now. I'm going on 17 years.
Okay.
And I moved here from Hawaii.
Wow.
Then prior to that, I lived in California for quite a few years, and born and raised in northern Minnesota.
Are you bringing those California liberal values to
No,
the state?
no, I left so long ago. I got out of California while the getting was good, but it was a place to work.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm ex-Army, as they say, or whatever the case. I served in Vietnam. Went into service in 1965, late 1965, and went to Vietnam in 1966 and got out of there at the end of 1967. And I was in the artillery.
Wow.
And,
How's your hearing?
It's actually very good. And I don't ask why, because the VA asked that question. How come your hearing is pretty good? I said, I have no idea. Yeah, I was with 155s and 175s on occasion, so the big guns, and they were noisy.
Wasn't that infantry?
No, strictly artillery. I started out 5th Infantry Division in Colorado Springs, and was sent over as an individual replacement. I was originally being trained to be a mortar gunner.
Okay.
And I thought, you know what? I got a college degree. I could do more than drop a mortar round in a tube.
Right.
So they said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, what have you got available, so to speak? And this is early on in. And they said, well, we can train you to be a field artillery fire direction specialist. And in those days, you didn't have a calculator. Everything was, you figured it out by hand, and like put your finger up and how's the wind, so to speak, and that type of thing. And
you really did
literally, it's fire that direction. It was, it's not like today. You didn't have cell phones. You had the PRC 25s on your back. There were these monstrous radio hookups that didn't work out at the time. So I was trained in that, and but I could read and write and type and do anything they wanted me to do. So when I got over to Vietnam, they said, we don't have any openings in field artillery right now for firing. We're going to put you in personnel. I said, okay, and I said, that's good. That sounds like a really safe job.
Yeah.
I like that idea, because I was married. I'm not looking to get myself in a lot of trouble. And I said, am I replacing somebody that went home? He said, yeah, but he went home in a body bag.
Oh, shit.
And I thought this is supposed to be a safe job.
Right, yeah.
Well, it was.
He got the COVID.
Yeah, he got the COVID. He got himself in a bind. This is 1st Cavalry Division, and they did lots of strange stuff. Yeah. So most of the time that I was over there, I was going back and forth to the LZs, back and forth. A lot of times bringing up documents, a lot of times doing other stuff. Right. I was like a jack of all trades, because this was fairly early in the Vietnam War as far as the.
What year was this?
66.
Okay.
Of course, it went on until 73. So in 60, I got out of there right before the Tet Offensive.
Oh, okay.
I left about a month and a half before the Tet Offensive, which was a very lucky break, because the base I was at was totally overrun.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was wiped. Not so much in personnel, because a lot of the 1st Cav had moved out of there already to go up near Cambodia. But they didn't know how to defend a base. They just, they said, well, we'll just leave it partially covered with troops. But, the Vietnamese looked at it as like, this is an opening, you just walk right on in. There's nobody there to speak of. So that's the story there, and I got out at. Actually, I got out on Pearl Harbor Day, 1967, from Vietnam, and which was kind of an interesting day.
That was a very good year for me, by the way, '67.
Was it? Okay. Probably born in '67. A baby, see? Yeah. Well, I was born in the early part of World War II. My father was in World War II.
Then World War II. Then that started back in the mid '30s. Didn't it?
Not really. Well, our involvement December 7th, '41.
Yeah, but it started earlier than that.
Yeah, but not American involvement.
No, not American involvement.
Oh yeah, it was raging in Europe earlier than that.
Yeah.
There was stuff going all over the place, and China was getting invaded by Japan and so forth. And
I'd like to see them try it now.
Yeah, lots of luck. So that's our situation there.
Oh wow, Mayor, I think we got a caller. I don't know how to.
Call from Leanne Kalstein.
I don't know how to. Hello?
Hello. Please leave a message after the tone.
Yeah.
So
that's my military involvement, my personal military involvement. My family was, of course, my father, both his brothers were in World War II at the same time, and we had 6 additional first cousins at the same time, all in World War II.
Okay.
Interesting, because all of them came home. So that was a good thing.
That's a good thing.
That was a good thing.
It wasn't like Finding Private Ryan. Huh?
No. No, they all got out, and all in one piece. And although my father suffered he had malaria when he was in the service.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if it affected him, whatever, but he died very, very young after the war.
So let's move fast forward, Mayor. Tell us about your political career.
The only reason I got involved in local politics was over veterans issues. I had a good friend of mine that was retired command sergeant major, and he wanted to build a veterans center in Mesquite. So he approached the city, but he approached the city like a command sergeant major, yelling at him, "This is what you're going to do. This is what, blah blah blah," and he got nowhere. So I bumped into him just shortly after I moved to Mesquite, and I said, "Let me give it a try." And I thought I'd be a little more diplomatic. So I met with we had a veterans commission in Mesquite, which consisted of, I think, one of the city council members and 4 or 5 veterans. And they had been frustrated because they wanted something, and they didn't have any money, of course. So I sat down with them, and we had a city council across from us and city attorney at the time. And they looked at me and they said, "No, we're not going to give you a veterans center. You don't need a veterans center. Thank you very much." I went home. I get a phone call the next day from a council member, who I won't name at this time. And he says, "The veterans are asking for everything. They don't need anything. They've got golf courses in Mesquite. They've got casinos. What else? In other words, go away." So I said, So the best way to handle it is to be on the other side of the table. So I ran for office. And by then we'd gotten our vet center built. Myself and a deceased now Marine medic, the name of Jim Brown, he and I and Ed Pfizer, who was the command sergeant major, we got together and we said, we're going to get this center. So Jim Brown and I came down to, it's an interesting story, we came down to Las Vegas.
What was the cost involved in that? What was the cost involved in the Veterans Center?
Well, initially we didn't have any money whatsoever, I got to tell you that. We had nothing, okay? We drove down to Las Vegas, a place that does modular homes. Stockman, I think, is the name of the company in North Las Vegas. Big yard of all these modular, not homes, but containers, whatever you want to call these things, 12 by 60s. And he said, "I'm going to show you guys some stuff," and I looked at one, and he says, "Well, this unit here, this is $55,000, one unit, mind you." And I'm thinking, it's pretty small, and we don't have any money anyway, but we'll walk around and look to see what's offered. And he brings us back in the yard, and he says, "I've got this 5 modular unit here, and it's all been divided up." And I said, "How much is it?" He said, "50. And I'm thinking, oh, here we go again, 50,000 for it. He says, 50,000 for all of it. And we'll provide it. Your veterans, you got a 501c3? He said, "Yep. No sales tax, and we'll deliver it to Mesquite for like a couple $1,000 bucks." Now that's almost nothing, because each one of these is on these giant trucks, to bring them up.
no,
to,
that's-
yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah, transportation costs on something like that
yeah,
could be
big
huge,
time.
right?
Yeah.
So I looked at Jim Brown. I said, "How do we pass this up?" And he said, he said to me, "You got any money?" I said, "I got a checkbook with me." I wrote a check for $5,000 for deposit. And then I said to him afterwards when we got in the car, I said, "Is there anybody going to pay me back?" He says, "Well, we'll figure it out." So we threw a golf tournament up in Mesquite. People were very cooperative. They gave us the golf course, everything, all for nothing.
Yeah.
And we raised like $9,000.
Wow.
Yeah, just like that. Then, we were rolling, and we ordered the modules. I went to the Bank of Nevada, and I'll use Bank of Nevada as the example because they gave me through the center a loan on it, and they said we got to figure out how to do this because it's not a permanent structure.
Right.
We don't loan on mobile facilities.
Yeah, typically.
They came up with they called it a equipment loan. They called this stuff equipment, and we got a loan. So
Interest free?
I think then it was about 7%, which that was okay then. That was
Especially when
fine.
you're dealing with a few $1,000s.
Yeah. Well, this
7%
was
is a lot.
This was about the loan was about 40,000, I think, on it or something like that.
What's 7% of 40,000?
Yeah. And my wife and some friends put on a fundraiser through the Casablanca Hotel.
Okay.
The Casablanca donated everything, including the entertainer, which was Stevens. He's ventriloquist, all kinds of stuff,
I thought it would be Cedric the Entertainer.
Yeah, well, this guy brought him in, let me tell you. And he brought his entourage with him, and musicians, everything.
Oh, wow.
All courtesy. They printed up the signs, they did the ticketing, everything. So it's a one-night event, and for Mesquite, we raised $10,000. It was all profit. So we had that. So then I get a phone call. This lady wants to give us a motorhome. And I'm thinking, yeah, I can imagine what this motorhome is. Get it off my property kind of a thing,
Yeah, I know.
And this was out in scenic Arizona. You got to know scenic Arizona. Outside of Mesquite, it's probably the crystal meth capital of the Arizona Strip. It's pretty seedy out there. Now it's getting nicer, but it wasn't then.
Yeah.
And so I drive out there, and I'm thinking this is going to be. You're going to have to tow this thing away.
Right.
Here sits this virtually new, about a 40-foot motorhome, a 43-foot motorhome.
Those cost almost $100,000.
This was $143,000. She had the paperwork. Had 7,000 miles on it. Her husband, they bought it. He has a heart attack. He dies. She wants no part of it whatsoever.
Wow.
This is for you guys, and donates it to us, to the Veterans Center.
And you had title.
We had title.
Oh, wow.
We sold it right away. I mean, obviously, paid off the Veterans Center, put all kinds of money in our bank so that we could pay the utilities, this, that, and the other, because nobody gets paid there. It's all volunteers.
Right. Yeah.
And this was basically my entrance into politics through getting a Veterans Center for Mesquite.
So here's one thing I just, it's not even so much a question as a statement, Mayor. And this is something that I believe in strongly, and Steve understands this too. So get a lot of criticism sometimes that maybe veterans in politics, we don't do enough for veterans. That it's more political than it is about veterans issues. And one of the things that I've always said and believe strongly in is what the whole idea behind veterans in politics, and one of the reasons why I've gotten so on board with veterans in politics over the years and believe in it so much, is that it's almost exactly what you just said. Because anybody, and I'm not taking away from anybody's service, okay? If all you have time to do is go to a soup kitchen at a VA hospital one Saturday a month or whatever, and serve, and that's great and wonderful, and I appreciate people that do that, or write letters or send care packages. But one of the things that I think is the most important as far as dealing with veterans issues is basically what you just got done saying. If you're not involved in the political process, like, you can't get stuff done.
That is correct. You cannot.
And there's so many people that, unfortunately, once they leave the service, they're just so burnt out and so tired of politicians making like stupid decisions or whatever, and they just get frustrated with it. And once they leave the service, they're done. Like they want nothing to do with politics. So that story means a lot to me, because that's why I try to explain to people is like, there's more you can do. And it's not, and you know, I mean, Steve and I we can send care packages, write letters, and we do. But at the same time, like if we're not involved with politics and judicial races and mayor races and things of that nature, and city council races, county commission races, like, you know, if you're a vet and you're driving and there's potholes all down the street, well, at some point you're going to blow a tire. Now, you can't just complain about that. You got to do something about it. That impacts a veteran too. So I really appreciate that story.
And, you know, and you at that point you can call a politician.
Right.
But if the politician was a veteran and he knows that maybe you're a veteran, he's going to go overboard to help you. He's going to assist you. He's going to make the phone calls he has to. I learned this before. I could call somebody up and say, you know, I'm Allan Litman. Yeah, we'll put you on hold. You know, we'll get to you. But when you pick up and you call, this is Mayor Litman calling. Yes, sir. What can we do? How can we help you? And they're afraid not to follow through.
Right.
Whereas otherwise, you get, believe me, you get shuffled off to the side.
It should be the same for anybody.
It should be.
It's a legitimate issue.
I know, but
government should want to respond to it immediately.
I think a lot of it is they become overwhelmed with the issues that are not important, and they don't understand how to prioritize what is important. But you know, veterans issues are so key in this country, and are going to continue to be so.
Yeah.
What's your veteran population up in Mesquite?
About 1,600 out of 24,000. It's huge.
Yeah, 24,000 people.
Yeah, about 1,600.
What's the square miles?
I haven't the slightest. You know, those demographics. I know it's an older population. We have a large population.
What's your
of
attraction?
veterans.
What brings people there?
What brings the weather is number one. The small town environment.
Golf courses.
The golf courses, yeah, of course. A little bit of gambling. People come out of Las Vegas. They want a quieter atmosphere.
Right.
They come to Mesquite. Last year, prior COVID, we had 1.3 million visitors, and that's huge for us.
You guys got one school up there, right?
One high school, one intermediate school, and an elementary school, plus Bunkerville, which is, you know, a little metro covers Bunkerville, but we handle the school.
You guys are not far from St. George.
34 miles.
Do you get along with the mayor over there?
Very little contact. You know, it's another state, and that's the issue.
Yeah.
I deal with the mayors in Clark County on a regular basis, and they've been very cooperative.
I wanted to congratulate you for again winning your reelection, your campaign.
Thank you.
Was it a tough one?
Not really. I got interesting support. The National Veterans Association backed me.
Right.
Our police backed us, and
that's why you got away with that speeding ticket coming down here.
yeah, literally. No, I had a city car. That helps. Yeah. I drove a city car. So they look at you. No, no, it's not. Let's see. The last election I had, not this one, but the one prior to that. Now I had a former Navy guy run against me, Vietnam veteran. Also, and but that was no contest. And in fact, I asked him. I said, "Art, why are you running for this?" You know, because he knows me. You know, he was the only one. And he says, "So I can tell my grandkids I ran for an political office." I said, "That's great," but he didn't do anything, and he didn't get anywhere. And my last candidate was our city attorney, very interesting, that ran for mayor.
Isn't that a conflict, though?
Yeah, personally.
Shouldn't the city attorney retire before running?
One would have thought so, but he found some little thing in the law. You know, lawyers find these stuff, you know. So he ran, and I said, you know what, whatever. And I beat him more than 2-1.
Is he still the city attorney?
No, we fired him last week. Seriously. Yeah, we fired him. Yeah, he's gone. And that's an HR issue, so I can't go into any details on
So,
it.
so what's in the future for Mesquite? Where are you taking Mesquite in the next 4 years?
Hopefully, back to the level we were, first of all. We're a good town. We're growing, not super fast, but it's a normal rate of growth. People want to come there and retire, and they want a peaceful place, but we need the young people there too to work, obviously. I tell people all the time, if you got a bunch of old people running around there, who's doing the work? What gets done? Right. So I'm working on workforce housing right now. We've got some projects going on. We've got another development taking place, I think, finally. COVID slowed us up a little bit, obviously, and
you have any veteran transition housing up there?
No, but with this new development we're having, they should fit in fine because it'll be workforce, plus it can be anybody of whatever income bracket.
You ever thought about talking to Dr. Arnold Stalk about bringing a veterans village up in Mesquite?
We don't. Our veterans population is a little bit different than here. I know Arnold quite well. Most of our veterans in Mesquite, not all of them, mind you, but for the majority of them, they're okay. They've retired in Mesquite. Right. Either you're retired from the service with a pension, or they're retired from a career. So as far as we talk about, somebody said the other day, we don't have a homeless shelter. I said, that's because I can count the number of homeless people on one hand in Mesquite.
We bust them back to Vegas.
Yeah, I think so. In other words, the need isn't there. If the need was there, I would strive towards that for the veterans. Sometimes we get veterans coming through, and they're needy. They're out of gas money. They're out of whatever the case may be. Salvation Army will help them out, and they're fine because you're just using us as a stop-off point. Right. But I know I've done pretty careful analysis of our veterans community, and financially, I think the majority of them are okay. Some still work, older veterans that are working, and for whatever reason, either they need to work or they're bored, but there's work for them. So.
What's the medium housing prices in Mesquite?
Mesquite, probably right now, 300,000, give or take.
That high?
We're right up just underneath.
That better be like 5 bedrooms or something.
No, we're right under Las Vegas in housing. We're very popular. Yeah, it was for a long time. There was quite a difference, but when Vegas was in that real boom in the early 2000s, and the prices were skyrocketing, Mesquite was holding pretty level and considerably below. Yeah. But we've caught up.
So
same on rent.
So Mayor, on that one, I wanted to ask you, obviously, with COVID and certain things, the whole world seems like it's flipped upside down here for at least a year. We'll see how things go. Hopefully things turn around next year. But so when you started talking about growth, there's a couple issues that always come up with cities, right? So water, can't live without water, and then how do you manage the growth of a town responsibly? Because I know, for instance, I'm sure the issues in Mesquite are a little bit different than here in Las Vegas, but I think Boulder City, even though they get teased a lot, I think Boulder City's done a pretty good job of managing growth. Just trying to be very responsible about it, right? When issues like that come up, how do you differentiate between, obviously you want your city to grow and expand, but how do you do it responsibly, especially and where does Mesquite draw its water from?
Okay, we draw our water. We're not our own water system. We work with the Virgin Valley Water District, which is a quasi-public utility unto their own. Yeah. The water is drawn from the Virgin River, and as well as the aquifers underneath the city. We have a number of aquifers, so we have well water. Okay. And they're getting it out of the wells.
I'm on well water.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well water is great, so our water it's been a controversy of sorts. Well, when are we going to run out of water? Well, as long as the aquifers keep filling, we may never run out of water. I've heard estimates that we could handle 50,000 people there with no problem whatsoever, and I've heard other people say, you can't allow another company to come in here. There's not enough water. Well, the Virgin Valley Water District says there is. Have they done a careful measuring of the aquifers? No, they haven't, and they need to.
Yeah.
But we can't do that as a city. They have to do that as a water district.
Right.
In fact, we had one of the candidates running for.
Who controls that, though?
They have their own board. It's to say that they get some approval from the state through, but they're quasi public utility. They can do what they want to do.
And
they
the main reason why I ask is because I get irritated that the Virgin Valley River is, when it gets as far south as Logandale, that's where I used to do my best catfishing, and that thing is dry now. So I get irritated.
And it's coming, it's coming out of Utah, and there's no water coming out of there.
Right.
So, but the aquifers under the city are in good shape as far as water goes. In fact, they're drilling a new well. They just spent, unfortunately, they spent a couple $1 million to drill a new well, and it was dry. That was bad planning on their part, and they're trying to cover up, of course, with that. And they're doing a pretty good job. They just raised fees to developers, just a huge amount of money. And now they're going to raise regular meter rates again, probably to pay for the next well.
So you got a lot of land out there, right?
Oh, yeah.
How much vacant land do you have?
Thousands of acres. They picked up back in the 90s.
What's the plan for it?
Well, some of it has no utility and nothing to it, so it's going to take a lot of money to develop that land.
Yeah.
We're moving outwards, but again, there's a lot of available land. We have an industrial park that's quite large and well developed, and pretty much empty right now. But companies are looking at it as time gets better, because we're right off the I-15, so we're, as you know, so we're well positioned.
Like a theme park out there, water theme park out there?
Oh, that was suggested once, but you get all these rumors that this is going to happen, that's going to happen. We had a company looking a couple years ago at a 1,000-acre parcel that the city owns, but no utilities on it, to put in hydroponic farming and gardening for Vegas. They said, we can raise enough produce, we can take care of most of the major hotels. And the next question was, can the city give us the land? And they said, we can give it to you virtually for nothing. So they went out there and looked at it and said, hey, there's no water.
Yeah.
So we told them, you have to drill a well. They went to the water district. Well, the water district said, it's about $900,000 to drill a well, proper for this thing. And they said, we don't have the money. So you hear this all the time. But we've got housing developments coming now, finally. And we're in competition with everybody else.
Yeah.
If somebody can build 1,000 units in Las Vegas, it's far more profitable than trying to build 50 units in Mesquite.
Right.
We don't even have the workers, so you have somebody has to house the workers to come up. Pulte the same way with some.
Well, they could do the same thing they did when they built the Boulder Dam, right?
Same idea, yeah. Well, Pulte brings in a lot of workers. They hire their own contractors and so forth for our Sun City development, which is it's growing fast. All retirees, of course. The average house about $300,000, so everybody moving in there is financially fine. Yeah. Usually from California, where they sold their house for $1 million, and they come in and they buy a $300,000 house. They got money to burn after that. Right. But responsible development, you have to look at the kind of companies that want to come to Mesquite, and we work with them. They need two things. They need workforce housing, obviously, which we're now finally getting some, because our housing we're very limited up there right now. And they need a workforce. And we don't have a big workforce in Mesquite. You got an awful lot of retired people, and not a lot of people looking for work, even in COVID times.
What's the main revenue source?
Gaming.
Is it gaming?
Hotel room. We're all part of the whole state's part of the consolidated tax.
And how many,
everything gets thrown in the pot.
How many casinos you guys got up there?
Well, we have the Virgin River, we have the Casablanca, and the Eureka, and then there's a couple little.
Which one do you hang out at?
I don't. Not a gambler.
You don't have a favorite restaurant up there?
Yeah. Catherine's, which I went to last night for my birthday. It was great.
You and I went to Catherine's.
Yes, it was a great restaurant. Yeah, it holds its own with anything in Las Vegas.
Yeah, been there a few times myself.
The Eureka's got Gregory's, also fine restaurant, fine dining. A little smaller than the Casablancas, and they do a really good job up there too. So our casino industry is our backbone right now.
Mayor, just do me a huge favor though. Don't ever do that running of the bulls thing again.
Oh, they stopped that a long time.
Yeah. We went
up.
up there that year, and I'm not even lying. Yeah.
Yeah. it's crazy.
That was the worst day of my life.
I didn't live there
Who would
then.
want to be chased by a bull? Who would want to be chased by anybody?
No, I mean, I don't know why, and like I'm not picking on the city of Mesquite. I get it, but at the same time, I was like, my dad and I were watching this, and
Saying, what idiots?
my dad is like, okay, so basically a bunch of drunken rednecks got together and decided they were gonna run around and spool up a whole bunch of dust.
Oh, yeah,
It was bad.
That's before I lived. Well, when I first moved there, they were doing Mesquite Days. They were doing a greased pig run, and I think when I got on city council, people were driving me nuts right off the way. You all realize how cruel that is? And I said, yeah, it's not the nicest thing to do. It's hotter in the blazes. These poor pigs are getting overheated and falling over dead. And they said, well, you can't stop that. That's a tradition. I said, you watch, and we stopped it. Yeah, that's crazy.
I could give a shit about the bulls. It was hotter than hell that day, let me tell you. Sorry about that.
And dusty.
And
dusty.
It was bad. Anyway, sorry.
Jim, you got anything else for the mayor?
No, other than, obviously, thank you for your service.
You're very welcome.
And thank you very much for getting involved in politics. So many people, and I'm just going to leave it at this, and this is more of a statement than anything. I get so tired of people telling me, I'm not a politician, even those that are in government, I'm not a politician, I hate politics, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Politics is a struggle for power. Yep. So life is politics, people, whether you like it or not. And when you try to tell me you're not a politician, number one, you're lying. And number two, if you didn't get elected, that's just because you didn't do the right things and you didn't have the guts to run for office. So we have here a mayor that was gracious enough to drive down from the city of Mesquite, served his country, and now he's serving the great people of Mesquite. So I want to thank you very much for coming in.
You're very welcome. Very welcome.
Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for being on the show. And I wanted you to look into the camera and say whatever you want to say. And a point of contact if you want to leave one as well.
Point of contact, everybody in Mesquite knows how to get a hold of me. And I'm in the local phone book. Somebody said, are you crazy? You're in the phone book with your home phone number? I said, yeah. If you want to reach me, you'll reach me. Or you can call me at City Hall. I'm always available anytime to answer a question, anytime. And as far as veterans in politics, finally we've got veterans in politics, and we need more veterans in politics all the way around. Although, again, politics it can be nasty. You get called. I told somebody the other day, I got to tell you this very quick story. The last time I got vilified, I guess I can hold this up and it works okay, was when I got off an airplane in San Francisco in 1967 in an Army uniform. And all I wanted to do, my wife was living in San Francisco, all I wanted to do is get through the airport, get to a taxi cab, and get to where she was living. And all the way through the airport, you got called every name you could think of in 1967. You were a killer, you were a murderer, you were this, that, and the other. Somebody walked up to me and kicked me in the shin. And you're not going to do anything because you want to get out of there. You don't want to be arrested at a San Francisco airport. So that was the last time I got vilified up until recently at City Hall when we started making some changes, and moving out of city attorney and so forth and so on. But you know what? You just put up with it. It is what it is, and I put up with it all the time, and it's fine. That's about it. Yeah.
Mayor, thank you so much for being on the show. Folks, that's Mayor Allan Litman of the great city of Mesquite, and a veteran, and we need more quality veterans to run for office. Not just a veteran just decides to run for office and then we endorse somebody else that's not a veteran, and we don't rubber stamp anybody. But we need quality veterans to run for office, and that's what we need. And we're glad that Mayor Litman is retaining his seat up in Mesquite, and we hope that he does it for how many more years?
4 more.
4 more years, and then
Then I'm definitely done.
Then you're done.
I won't be termed out. I could actually go again because I filled in for a mayor that had quit.
Right.
So I filled part of his term. But I tell people there's a point in life that you got to call it quits.
That's right. And then the founding fathers always, when the founding fathers made these offices, they said, hey, you do your time and you leave and you let somebody else take
Yeah,
over.
exactly.
Not 40 years and 50 years.
No, I'm a believer in term limits. No doubt about it.
Well, folks, that's Mayor Allan Litman, great mayor of the city of Mesquite. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jones for Veterans in Politics. Merry Christmas, and until next time.